today from Drunk Dog Creative, and I'm here to show you how to use the Round We Go stamp and die set. And today I'm going to particularly concentrate on the dies, but this is such a versatile set that can do so many things for so many different celebrations. But I'm focusing on the American 4th of July card. So I know I live in Australia, but I am from America originally, and I've got family and friends there who celebrate this day. And I thought, rather than the traditional fireworks, I was going to use Round We Go and the 3D, what is it called? The 3D dotted circles embossing folder to make some interesting cards. These are a few of the ones that I've come up with slightly different motifs on them. You can see with this one, I used some of the stamps to create a border and then put a rosette over it with a 4th of July sentiment from my stash. For this one, I had a God Bless America stamp in my stash, and I used the dies to create the top. But for this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to make this card, and maybe you'll get some ideas to use these pieces for other cards for other celebrations, or if you're in the US, you have about a week and a half to go ahead and make some Independence Day cards. So let me talk about the two main tools I used. It's the Round We Go stamp set with the matching die set. And don't forget, die bundles are an extra 10% off until June 30th. So you have another week or so if you're in Australia and want to grab this. Makes fabulous birthday cards, fabulous celebration cards, congratulation cards, everything. And you can use the stamps and the dies. They're just a great set. I've also used the Dotted Circles 3D. And if you're wondering why I have a piece of paper taped to the back, you'll find out in a few minutes. So let's start with the basics. I've already prepared my card. My card base I've done in basic white thick. It is 210 millimeters wide by 148 millimeters tall, and it's scored at 105 millimeters. I've then got two mats. I have a navy blue mat that is 100 millimeters wide by 143 millimeters tall. And then I have another white mat in the same basic white thick that's 95 millimeters wide by 138 millimeters tall. And then I took some real red and I did it 90 millimeters wide by 133 millimeters tall. And I ran that through my embossing folder. Now I'm doing multiples of these to send to friends and family. So I've discovered a little trick if you want to center your red piece and have it centered every single time. Tip for you. If you're trying to emboss in a folder and you need it centered and you're doing multiples and you're going to do them over and over, instead of trying to center each one, take a piece of cardstock in a contrasting color, center it on the back, and mint tape it or use some sort of low-tack tape to hold it in place. Then all you have to do, if you do multiples, is line it up to the contrasting card underneath, close it, and feed it through your machine. And then every single one is going to come out centered or with the pattern exactly where you want it. So just pick a contrasting color that you can see through the folder, line that one up on the back, mint tape it, and then you just line the new cardstock right to it. And because it's contrasting, you can tell if it's sticking out a little bit anywhere, and you can just swivel this and jiggle it until it's aligned exactly with the contrast underneath. And that helps you center multiples when you're embossing. So once that was embossed, I simply layered them all up. And if you want to do an inside, I would suggest you can either just write on it because it's white, but then the front is a bit top heavy. And it may not stand. So I would suggest inside, take either the red or the Night of Navy, whichever you prefer, and cut 138 wide by 95 tall, and then put white on top of it, 133 wide by 90 tall, and have a double layer on the inside. And you can stamp sentiments on the inside if you want to leave the front plain. On this one, I just did a little tag, which I punched with one of our pick-a-punch punches to do the ends. That's a 1/2 inch by 2 1/4 inch and stamped Independence Day. You can do that on the outside, or you can do your sentiments on the inside. So that's the basics of the card base. The fun part is putting these bits together, and this is really fun. So I'm going to be using my liquid multi-glue, the small end. For a lot of this, I will be using my Stampin' Seal for some of it. And the other tool I'm going to use is my Ryobi cordless tool gun, the king of glue guns. And you really do need it for the Rosetta, which is the trickiest part. So let's look at putting these things together. I've got a little silicone mat here to protect my work surface. I've used the dies to cut out a few different of these little pinwheel type things and a couple of circles. So let me run you through what I've done for this design. Is I've used both of these. So I've cut two of these in navy and two of these in red, and I used a pattern DSP in Night of Navy and Real Red. And then I cut two of the red and two of the navy out of this one. Then I also cut out of this smaller one Real Red and some gold glitter paper that I had. And if you notice, this one has rounded edges at the end, and this one has the pointed edges at the end. And I like to mix them up. I also used this die to cut this piece and this round circle to cut this. They're going to help us to put the Rosetta together. This die here is your Rosetta. So that was my round one and my round one. This here, you cut two of these to make a single Rosetta, and I'll show you how to put that together in a minute. So what I'm first going to do is put my two circles aside and my two Rosettas aside. I'm going to put these together first. And you can choose red on top or blue on top, it doesn't matter. Whichever one you want on the bottom, just put a little dot of glue in the middle. And then you're going to just put this blue one on so that the blue goes in between. That was a little too much glue. So that the blue goes in between all the reds and creates a full flower just like that. It's so easy. And I'm going to do the same with the other patterned red and blue. I'm going to try to use a little less glue. I forgot how fast this comes out. And the same thing, I'm just going to put it on top. So I'm using Real Red and Night of Navy as my primary colors for this with a little pop of gold. And you can just spin it and move it around. I think I just pulled a piece off because of the glue. I did. Oops. You just spin it until they're all in between. And then you just let that dry. And I'm going to do the same with the gold and the red. And in this case, I want the gold on the bottom. And just how I arrange the colors, you'll see. The liquid glue is very tacky on your hands, so you might want to have a wet wipe or a wet handkerchief or towel nearby to wipe your hands with it, because these bits are delicate, and if they stick to you, you can pull them off like I did there, which is okay for now because you get the idea. So those three are all put together. And the next thing I'm going to do, while they dry a little bit, is put together my Rosetta. Now with this, you'll see that there are two ends. There is an end that tapers in, and there's a normal end. This end that tapers in is your connector. So these two pieces are going to connect, connector to connector, and then that one around to make a circle. So what you want to do to start is it's already scored. The die has already scored it. So you want to fan fold this, and you want to start with a mountain fold. So you want to start by pushing the normal end back, and that's to make sure that the ends line up correctly. And then you just fan fold it from there. Push it along the score line and squeeze it, and do a fan fold all the way to the more pointy connector end. And just squeeze them together as you go to make sure that that's a good fold. And then you end with that. And the same exact thing on the other side, the same way. That first fold goes under, so it makes a mountain fold, which means it's a peak rather than a valley. So you want to bend that to the back and then bring it forward, and then just continue the fan fold all the way. There, and just give it a squeeze. Oop. And that one's done. So if you can see, we've got peaks and valleys. Your connector should be coming off a valley, and your first one should start a peak. And then you're going to attach them. Now, the other thing about these is you'll see one side is a sharp point and one side is a round point. So you have to decide what you want to be on the outside. Let me see if I can find an example. So on this one, the sharp points are to the outside, and on this one, the rounded points are to the outside. So that's your decision to make. The first thing you're going to do is put them side by side, and you're going to put a little bit of glue or tape. I prefer tape at this point because glue takes a little time to set. So I'm going to take my Stampin' Seal, and I'm going to run it. It doesn't matter if it goes off the edge, but you don't want it to overlap the next piece. So I'm going to put my Stampin' Seal there, and I'm going to line this up so that it's round ends together and points together, and that should line up with the crease line. And then I'm going to just fold that a few folds on each side, and from underneath give it a little bit of a squeeze to make sure that it connects. And it should just continue mountain, valley without messing that up. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to put some glue or glue tape right on that edge. And then I'm going to coil this around and line the edge of this up with the crease on the other so that they're the same length and right to each other. Just press that and then fold a couple on each side to make sure that that's strong. So now what you've got is a circle. All right, I'm going to move these now. Now is when I get to play with the glue gun. Now, this is a really nice decorative circle, and how you do this is you put it up in a circle, and then you have to kind of use all fingers and kind of fold it inwards till it makes the rosette, and it springs right up. That's a really nice decorative circle if you want that to show. This one is also just a plain one. I need one on the back and one on the front. And for my particular design, it doesn't matter because I'm going to cover it with this little rosetta. So in my case, normally if this dot is going to show, I'd put the decorative one on, but it's not going to show. So I'm going to use the big one on the bottom and the little one on the top. So I'm going to let that spring. What I'm going to do is take my glue gun, hopefully it's warmed up, and I'm going to spread that glue around that circle without burning my fingers. And I want this to be sharp edge out, so I'm going to make sure I fold it this way. I'm going to put it here, right around it, and I'm going to try to... Oh, that's what I didn't want to happen. I'll do it the other way since I'd already done it. Put it in a circle, and then just, or even if you have to do it off again, do it so that it's there, and then carefully put it onto that hot glue, press it in, and hold it for a minute till that glue sets a little bit. Pull any strings off, because this is really poppy, and you want to kind of just hold it in place. Then I'm going to take a little more glue, and I'm just going to fill that circle and put a little bit around the edge, hopefully the same size as the next dot then I'm going to put on the other side. So now it's held, and I'm just going to press that for a minute until it all sets. Now it's held on both sides by those little circles. And which one you use is totally up to you. If you want to use two big ones, whatever you want. But I'm just going to hold it till that glue's not hot and until it sets a little bit so it doesn't pop out of shape like that. And you can see there's I'm pulling all the glue off. There's no right side or wrong side. And you can fold it the way I did with the scallop part on the outside or the pointed on the outside. But that's the glue gun for now to hold it all into place. That also gives you a solid surface to glue it to the card later. So what I'm going to start to do now is actually decorate the card. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to use the hot glue gun to attach this to the card, because otherwise normal glue doesn't hold that shape as well. And I'm going to center this in the middle of all those circles. How perfect is that? And that's why I took care to line this piece up right in the center of that embossing folder. All right, so I'm going to let that set a minute, and I'm going to take my red and gold one, and I'm going to put just a little bit of this glue in the middle. And then I'm going to affix that onto there to give that a little bit of pop. And then I'm going to take my two pieces, and it's up to you whether you want the small one there and the slightly larger one there, or whether you want them the other way around, whatever you want to do. But just a little dot of glue. And then pop that one in the corner. It's okay if it overlaps. It'll take a little time to set because of the dots, and it will pop it a little bit 3D. So then another little pop of glue. It does dry clear, so it's okay if it squirts out a little bit. I'm going to put that one there. And there I've got the basis of my card. The other thing I did is I took some of these gold gilded gems. You can use any kind of adhesive type embellishment that you want. And I'm going to use my take your pick with the putty end. And I'm going to put a small one in the middle of each of those little rosettas that now look like fireworks. And I'm going to put one of the larger ones. And again, this is not necessary. This is just me being over the top. You can make this as plain and simple as you want, or as complicated as you want. But there I've got some embellishments to give it a bit of pop. I can put a sentiment here like I did on this one. I can leave it plain like that. I could put the sentiment across the rosetta. I can use different colors for different celebrations. If you don't want a 4th of July card, you could do all sorts of things with this. You can put some of the other circles around, or you can make up the same things. And see, I used those circles just on their own to dot around the card. I used the stamps to create a background on the white and just had some fun with the rosettas. I used a monochrome for this, where both the background and the rosetta are red and they're not as fancy as this. So, you know, this 4th of July, there's an awful lot of things you can do with the Round We Go set. Happy crafting. Enjoy your 4th of July if you celebrate it. Enjoy your July in Australia if you don't. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you.